What are thought forms? Have you ever wondered if your thoughts had power beyond the fleeting moment they appear in your mind? Could a thought be more than just a private idea? Could it take on a life of its own, influencing reality? Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of thought forms, a concept that has intrigued mystics, spiritual practitioners, and even modern psychologists for centuries. In this video, we'll explore the origins, practices, and modern-day relevance of thought forms. And by the end, you might just find yourself reconsidering how powerful your mind really is. The term thought form might sound like something abstract or mystical, but the core idea behind it is simple. Thoughts, when energized with focus and emotion, can take on a form of their own. This concept suggests that thoughts are not just fleeting moments of mental activity, but entities of energy that can influence your reality in profound ways. In some traditions, they are believed to be invisible constructs that interact with the material world, affecting not only the thinker, but also those around them. Thought forms can be viewed from both a mystical and a psychological perspective. In spiritual traditions, they are described as energetic entities created through focused intention. Whether designed to manifest desires, provide protection, or influence outcomes, these thought forms have been considered powerful tools in shaping one's life. On the other hand, modern psychology might describe them as mental constructs, deeply ingrained patterns of thought that influence our behaviors, beliefs, and interactions with the world. So, why are thought forms relevant today? In a world that increasingly emphasizes the importance of mindset, manifestation, and self-improvement, the concept of thought forms offers a unique lens through which to understand the power of our own thoughts. Consider popular movements like the law of attraction or the practice of visualization in achieving goals. These are modern examples of how people channel their thoughts and emotions toward creating real, tangible changes in their lives. Many of us are familiar with the idea that thoughts create reality. We hear it in motivational talks, self-help books, and even in scientific discussions about the placebo effect. But thought forms take this idea a step further. They suggest that when you focus intently on a specific idea or goal, especially when you infuse that thought with emotion, you're not just influencing your mindset. You're creating an energetic form that can exist outside your mind, subtly shaping the events and circumstances around you. To understand the power of thought forms, it's helpful to consider examples from daily life. Have you ever noticed how a single thought or idea can seem to take on a life of its own? Perhaps you've had a persistent worry that, over time, seemed to affect your mood, your interactions, and even the events happening around you. Or maybe you've set an intention, like wanting a new job or relationship, and found that as you focused more on that goal, opportunities began to appear in your life, as if by magic. These are examples of how thought forms may be at work, whether we realize it or not. In spiritual practices, this concept has been refined into a technique for manifesting specific desires. Whether in Buddhist traditions with tulpas, thought beings created through deep meditation, or in modern New Age practices that emphasize manifesting wealth, health, or happiness, the underlying principle is the same. Focused intention has power. By channeling your thoughts into a clear, emotionally charged form, you can create something that influences both your internal and external world. Thought forms are not just personal tools. In some traditions, entire communities or groups could create collective thought forms, fueled by the shared intentions and emotions of many people. These collective entities, sometimes referred to as egregores, were believed to have even greater power to influence reality. We'll explore these in more detail later in the video, but it's important to note here that thought forms don't just operate on the individual level. They can be amplified by collective focus, intention, and belief. Modern science, too, has begun to explore the power of thought in ways that parallel ancient ideas of thought forms. Neuroscientific studies show that focused thought can change brain chemistry, influence emotions, and even trigger physiological responses in the body. Consider the placebo effect. When people believe they are receiving a treatment, even when it's just a sugar pill, their minds can trigger real, measurable healing responses. This is one small glimpse into the power of belief, an element that is central to the creation and influence of thought forms. But thought forms are more than just metaphors for the power of belief. They are considered active, living entities by those who practice their creation. Once formed, they can grow stronger, act independently, and even influence the thoughts, emotions, and actions of others. This is why thought forms can be powerful tools for personal growth and transformation. But they also come with ethical considerations. If you're not careful, a negative or destructive thought form could impact not only your life, but the lives of those around you. As we explore thought forms in this video, we'll examine their origins, how they've been used across cultures and time, and how you can harness their power in your own life. But with great power comes great responsibility, and understanding the ethics of thought forms is just as important as learning how to create them. By the end of this video, you'll have a deep understanding of how thought forms work, how you can create them, and how to navigate the responsibilities that come with wielding this ancient mental tool. Whether you're curious about thought forms from a spiritual, psychological, or practical perspective, you're in the right place. Now that we've laid the foundation, let's dive into the origins of thought forms. To fully understand their power, we need to explore where these ideas come from, tracing their roots through ancient cultures and spiritual traditions that saw the mind not as a passive receiver, but as an active creator of reality. The origins of thought forms in ancient cultures. Thought forms have been part of human spirituality and philosophy for thousands of years, with various cultures developing unique interpretations of the concept. From the meditative practices of Tibetan monks to the communal rituals of ancient Greece, the idea that thoughts could take on form and influence the world has shaped belief systems across the globe. Thought forms in Tibetan Buddhism. The concept of tulpas. Let's start with one of the most famous examples of thought forms, the tulpa in Tibetan Buddhism, particularly within the esoteric practices of Vajrayana. A tulpa is a mental construct brought into existence through intense meditation and focused thought. Tulpas are believed to be created by skilled practitioners, not as casual daydreams, but as actual, sentient beings that can exist outside the mind. To create a tulpa, a practitioner would spend years training in meditation and visualization, gradually bringing the thought form into reality. According to Tibetan teachings, a tulpa would begin as a mental image, but over time, it could gain its own consciousness and the ability to act independently of its creator. The process of creating a tulpa was seen as a powerful spiritual exercise, often used to develop discipline and mastery over the mind. The creation of a tulpa required absolute mental focus. The practitioner would first visualize the form they wished to create in intricate detail, focusing on every aspect of its appearance, personality, and purpose. This process could take weeks, months, or even years, depending on the complexity of the tulpa. Once the visualization was perfected, the practitioner would use meditation and ritual to energize the thought form, breathing life into it with their mental energy. Once formed, a tulpa was not merely a static mental image. It was believed to be capable of independent action and thought, and in some cases, it could even interact with the physical world. Advanced practitioners warned that tulpas could become too strong and difficult to control. There are stories in Tibetan folklore of tulpas becoming mischievous or even dangerous, acting against the will of their creators. This served as a reminder that thought forms are not to be created lightly. Once a thought has been given form and power, it can be difficult to undo. But the concept of thought forms isn't unique to Tibetan Buddhism. We find similar ideas in Hinduism, where thought forms take on a slightly different shape. Thought forms in Hinduism: deities, mantras, and thought energy. In Hinduism, thought forms are closely tied to the practice of meditation and the chanting of mantras. Mantras, sacred syllables or phrases, are believed to carry spiritual energy that can shape reality when repeated with focus and intention. These mantras are used to invoke deities, which are not just external beings, but also representations of thought forms. Deities in Hinduism are seen as both independent entities and mental constructs that can be accessed through meditation. The idea is that by chanting mantras and focusing on a specific deity, practitioners create a mental bridge between themselves and the divine. This process creates a thought form of the deity within the mind, allowing the practitioner to tap into the deity's energy and influence their own life and environment. In some traditions, the deity itself is seen as a manifestation of a collective thought form, energized by centuries of devotion and belief from followers. Take, for example, the deity Ganesha, the remover of obstacles. Devotees meditate on Ganesha's form, repeating his mantra to invoke his energy. Through this process, they create a mental image, a thought form of Ganesha, which they believe can help them overcome obstacles in their own lives. The thought form of Ganesha is not merely symbolic. It's considered an active force that can influence both the mental and physical realms. In many Hindu practices, the line between the deity as an external force and as a thought form within the mind is blurred. The power of the thought form comes from the practitioner's belief and focus, but it's also reinforced by the collective energy of all those who have invoked that deity over centuries. This concept of collective energy ties closely to another thought form tradition we'll explore: the egregore. While individual thought forms are powerful, some cultures believe that the collective thoughts and intentions of a group could create an even more potent entity. This brings us to ancient Greece, where the concept of the egregore first took shape. Thought forms in ancient Greece, the egregore. In ancient Greece, the idea of a collective thought form known as Anigragor, played a significant role in the spiritual and philosophical traditions of the time. An egregore is a thought form created not by an individual, but by the shared focus, intention, and belief of a group. Unlike the personal tulpa or deity thought form, an egregore is sustained by the collective energy of its creators. The concept of the egregore was rooted in the belief that when a group of people worked together with a common goal or belief, their collective energy could give rise to a powerful force that acted as an independent entity. This entity, the egregore, would guide the group, influencing their actions and decisions. In some cases, egregores were thought to be the guiding spirits of religious cults, philosophical schools, or even political movements. One example of an egregore can be found in the Greek mystery schools, which were secret religious societies that focused on spiritual enlightenment and initiation. Members of these schools believed that through their rituals and collective meditation, they could create an egregore that embodied the essence of their teachings. This egregore would not only protect the group, but also guide them in their spiritual pursuits. The power of an egregore lay in its collective nature. The more people who contributed their energy to it, the stronger it became. This idea has persisted through history, finding its way into modern spiritual practices, where groups often come together to create collective thought forms for specific purposes, whether it's to bring about social change, protect a community, or manifest a common goal. But the idea of collective thought forms isn't just limited to ancient Greece. We see similar concepts in other cultures, such as the ancient Egyptians, who believed that their gods and goddesses were both independent beings and thought forms shaped by the collective worship of their people. Thought forms in ancient Egypt, deities, and collective worship. In ancient Egypt, the gods and goddesses were central to daily life and were believed to hold immense power over both the physical and spiritual realms. The Egyptians saw their deities as living beings who existed independently of humans, but they also believed that through collective worship, they could strengthen the gods' presence in the world. This process of collective focus and worship effectively created thought forms of the deities, which in turn influenced the lives of the people. For the Egyptians, the act of worship wasn't just a way to honor the gods, it was a way to channel the gods' energy into the physical world. By focusing their thoughts, prayers, and rituals on a specific deity, they believed they could create a powerful connection with the divine. This connection was not only spiritual, but also tangible, with the deity's energy manifesting in the form of protection, prosperity, or healing for the community. Take the god Ra, the sun god, who was worshipped as the giver of life and light. Every day, Egyptians would perform rituals and offer prayers to Ra, focusing their collective energy on ensuring that the sun would rise and bring light to the world. In a way, the collective thought form of Ra was what kept the sun moving across the sky, at least in the minds of the people. Through their rituals, they believed they were actively participating in the maintenance of cosmic order. Just like the egregore in Greece, the power of the Egyptian deities was amplified by the collective focus of their followers. Each prayer, ritual, and offering was a way to energize the thought form of the god, ensuring that their influence over the material world remained strong. The more people believed in and worshipped the deity, the more power that deity held in the minds and hearts of the people. the concept of collective thought forms, where multiple individuals contribute their energy to create a shared entity, appears in many other ancient cultures as well. But it's not always tied to religious practices. In some cases, thought forms were created to serve as protective spirits or guardians for communities. Let's explore how other ancient civilizations interpreted and used these powerful mental constructs. Thought forms in Mesopotamia, protective spirits, and guardians. Moving to ancient Mesopotamia, we find that thought forms often took the shape of protective spirits or guardian deities. These beings, like the famous Lamassu, were seen as both physical statues and mental constructs, designed to protect the city or kingdom from harm. The people of Mesopotamia believed that by creating a physical representation of these protective spirits, they could harness the power of the thought form and ensure the safety of their community. The Lamassu, for instance, was a hybrid creature with the body of a bull, the wings of an eagle, and the head of a human, representing strength, protection, and divine authority. These statues were placed at the entrances to palaces and cities, but they were more than just physical symbols. In the minds of the Mesopotamians, these statues were infused with the collective energy of the people, creating a powerful thought form that could guard against invaders, evil spirits, or bad luck. In Mesopotamian rituals, the creation of these thought forms was often tied to elaborate ceremonies. Priests and rulers would offer prayers, sacrifices, and chants to activate the statues, transforming them from mere stone into living embodiments of divine protection. Through these rituals, the Lamassu, or other protective spirits, became energized thought forms, believed to actively watch over and defend the city. This idea of creating protective thought forms through ritual and collective belief persisted in many ancient cultures. It speaks to the deep connection between the material and spiritual worlds in these societies, where the line between physical objects and mental constructs was often blurred. As we've seen, thought forms in ancient civilizations were more than just ideas. They were powerful tools used to influence reality, protect communities, and connect with the divine. But how did these ancient practices influence modern interpretations of thought forms? In the next section, we'll explore how these ancient ideas evolved into the thought form practices used today. Modern interpretations of thought forms. As the world advanced, so did the understanding and practice of thought forms. In modern spirituality, thought forms are seen as mental constructs that can influence both the mind and the physical world. However, unlike in ancient times, where thought forms were tied to religious rituals or deities, today, they are more often interpreted as manifestations of personal intention and mental energy. But what's fascinating is that thought forms now exist at the intersection of mysticism, psychology, and modern occult practices. Thought forms in modern spirituality, manifestation, and the law of attraction. One of the most popular modern interpretations of thought forms comes through the practice of manifestation, often linked with the law of attraction. The law of attraction is based on the idea that a like attracts like, meaning that whatever energy or thought you focus on will bring similar energy into your life. At the core of this practice is the concept of thought forms, mental constructs infused with energy that can influence your external reality. Practitioners of the law of attraction believe that if you focus on a specific outcome, like financial success, good health, or love, you can create a thought form that acts as a magnet, drawing these things into your life. This process involves visualizing your desired outcome, feeling the emotions associated with it, as if it's already happened, and then releasing the thought into the universe, trusting that it will manifest. Many people who practice the law of attraction emphasize the importance of not just thinking about what you want, but actively embodying the feelings that would come with it. For example, if you want to manifest wealth, it's not enough to simply think. Want to be rich? You must create a thought form by visualizing yourself living a life of abundance, feeling the joy, security, and freedom that come with it. In doing so, you generate a powerful thought form that is believed to influence not only your mind, but also the circumstances around you. This idea of thought forms as tools for manifestation has become widespread, thanks to books like The Secret and countless self-help seminars that teach people how to harness their thoughts to shape their reality. While the spiritual roots of this practice are ancient, modern thought form techniques have been adapted to fit the needs of individuals in a fast-paced, goal-oriented world. But thought forms in modern spirituality aren't just about manifesting wealth or success. They're also used as tools for healing, protection, and personal growth. In practices like energy healing or Reiki, thought forms are created to guide healing energy to specific parts of the body or to protect individuals from negative influences. Thought forms in modern occultism, servitors and egregores. Within modern occultism, thought forms have taken on even more elaborate and personalized interpretations. One of the most prominent practices involves the creation of servitors, personalized thought forms designed to carry out specific tasks or functions. Servitors are similar to tulpas in that they are created through focused intention and visualization, but they are generally simpler and serve a more practical purpose. In modern occult practices, servitors are created to perform tasks such as protection, guidance, or even influencing events in the physical world. The process of creating a servitor involves deciding on its purpose, visualizing its form, and then charging it with energy through rituals or meditative practices. Once the servitor is activated, it is believed to act independently, carrying out the task for which it was created. Let's say you want to create a servitor for protection. You would begin by visualizing the servitor as a protective figure, perhaps a glowing shield or a warrior-like entity. You would then focus on its purpose, to protect you from harm, negative influences, or unwanted energy. Through meditation or ritual, you would give the servitor life, instructing it to carry out this task on your behalf. Once created, the servitor exists as a mental construct, fueled by your intention and focus, but capable of acting independently. Unlike tulpas, which are often seen as spiritual beings with their own consciousness, servitors are typically viewed as tools, thought forms that serve a specific function and then dissipate once their task is complete. However, like any thought form, they require energy and attention to maintain. If neglected, they can weaken or even dissolve back into the ether. On a larger scale, occult groups and spiritual communities often create collective thought forms similar to the ancient Greek egregores. These egregores are energized by the shared focus and belief of the group, and can take on a life of their own, influencing the group's activities, or even guiding their decisions. Thought forms in modern psychology, archetypes and mental constructs. While thought forms are often discussed in spiritual or occult terms, modern psychology has its own interpretations of this concept. One of the most influential figures in this area is Carl Jung, who introduced the idea of archetypes, universal symbols and patterns that exist in the collective unconscious of all human beings. In many ways, archetypes can be seen as psychological thought forms, mental constructs that shape how we perceive and interact with the world. Jung believed that archetypes are deeply ingrained in the human psyche, influencing our thoughts, behaviors, and relationships. For example, the hero archetype represents the part of the human mind that strives for achievement, overcomes obstacles, and seeks to bring order to chaos. On the other hand, the shadow archetype represents our hidden desires, fears, and darker impulses. These archetypes can be thought of as internal thought forms, guiding our actions and shaping our experiences. In therapy, understanding these archetypes, or thought forms, can be a powerful tool for personal growth. By recognizing the influence of certain archetypes in our lives, we can begin to understand why we react to certain situations in specific ways. For example, someone who is strongly influenced by the hero archetype may feel a constant drive to achieve and succeed, while someone dominated by the shadow archetype might struggle with repressed fears or desires. Jung's work on archetypes has had a profound impact on modern psychology, especially in the fields of therapy and personal development. Many therapists use these concepts to help clients uncover the mental constructs, thought forms, that are shaping their inner world, allowing them to bring unconscious patterns into conscious awareness. While Jung's archetypes are more about understanding the thought forms that exist within us, modern psychology also looks at how we create new mental constructs through visualization and intention. Techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, and neurolinguistic programming, NLP, use thought forms as tools for rewiring the brain, helping individuals overcome negative patterns and replace them with healthier, more empowering thought forms in personal development, visualization, and mindfulness. In the world of personal development, thought forms are often created through practices like visualization and mindfulness. Visualization, for example, is a widely used technique where individuals create detailed mental images of their desired outcomes, whether it's achieving a goal, healing from illness, or improving relationships. The more vivid and emotionally charged the visualization, the stronger the thought form becomes, influencing both the mind and body. Gratitude journaling and visualization aren't just feel-good practices. They can be seen as ways to consciously create and nurture positive thought forms that shape your internal and external reality. By focusing on gratitude, success, or healing, you are energizing specific thought forms that influence your emotions, behaviors, and even the events that occur in your life. Mindfulness, on the other hand, allows individuals to recognize thought forms that might be detrimental. Through awareness, one can catch negative thought patterns as they arise, such as anxiety, self-doubt, or anger, and gently dissolve them before they grow into more powerful forces. This practice teaches us that we are constantly creating thought forms, whether we're aware of it or not. The goal is to cultivate those that serve us and release those that do not. For instance, if you regularly dwell on fears or worries, you are unintentionally creating negative thought forms that can affect your mood, relationships, and decision-making. Mindfulness practices train the mind to notice these thought forms as they arise, offering the opportunity to either let them go or replace them with more constructive ones. Over time, this can result in a profound shift in how you experience the world. As we've seen, thought forms are no longer confined to ancient religious or occult practices. Today, they are integrated into modern spirituality, psychology, and personal development techniques, helping individuals take control of their mental landscape and influence their reality. But with this power comes responsibility. Understanding how to create, maintain, and ethically manage thought forms is crucial to using this tool effectively. The science behind thought forms, the power of the mind. While thought forms have deep roots in spiritual and metaphysical traditions, modern science is beginning to reveal how the power of thought can influence both our internal and external worlds. From neuroscience to psychology, scientific research shows that our thoughts, beliefs, and intentions have far-reaching effects on our brains, bodies, and even our environment. In this section, we'll explore how science backs up the age-old idea that thoughts can take on form and shape reality, neuroplasticity, and the power of thought. One of the most important discoveries in neuroscience is the concept of neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and adapt throughout life in response to experience, thought, and behavior. Neuroplasticity essentially means that our brains are not fixed. They can rewire themselves based on the thoughts we think and the actions we take. This discovery has revolutionized how we understand the power of thought. When we think a thought repeatedly, whether it's a positive affirmation or a negative belief, we are reinforcing neural pathways in the brain. These pathways become stronger with repetition, much like how a well-trodden path in the woods becomes clearer the more people walk on it. Over time, this creates mental habits, our default ways of thinking, feeling, and behaving. In this sense, thought forms are more than just metaphysical constructs. They are physical, measurable changes in the brain. For example, studies on mindfulness meditation have shown that regular practice can physically change the structure of the brain. Areas associated with attention, emotional regulation, and self-awareness become more developed, while areas linked to stress and anxiety shrink. This is the brain's way of adapting to the focused intention and repeated mental practice of mindfulness. In essence, practitioners of mindfulness are creating positive thought forms, mental patterns that shape their brains and their experience of the world. Neuroplasticity doesn't just apply to positive thoughts. Negative thought forms can also shape the brain, reinforcing feelings of anxiety, depression, or fear. For example, research has shown that people who constantly worry or dwell on negative thoughts strengthen the neural pathways associated with those emotions, making it more difficult to break free from those mental patterns. This is why practices like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, aim to identify and rewire negative thought patterns, helping individuals dissolve harmful thought forms and replace them with healthier ones. So, while thought forms might sound abstract, the science of neuroplasticity shows us that thoughts do indeed have form, physical form in the brain. But what about their impact beyond the mind? Let's explore how thoughts and beliefs can influence the body through the mind-body connection. The placebo effect. Belief as a thought form. One of the most well-known and widely studied examples of the power of belief is the placebo effect. The placebo effect occurs when a patient experiences real physiological improvements after receiving a treatment that has no therapeutic value, such as a sugar pill. What's remarkable about the placebo effect is that it demonstrates how the mind's belief in a treatment can trigger measurable physical changes in the body. In a sense, belief acts as a thought form, influencing the body's chemistry and healing processes. Research has shown that the placebo effect can be incredibly powerful. In some cases, patients have experienced significant improvements in conditions like pain, depression, and even Parkinson's disease after taking a placebo. This suggests that the brain, when it believes in the effectiveness of a treatment, can release chemicals like endorphins or dopamine, which help the body heal. This is a clear example of how a thought form, belief in healing, can manifest in physical reality. Studies on the placebo effect have also revealed that the more elaborate or convincing the treatment, the stronger the placebo response. For example, patients who receive an injection of saline solution often report better outcomes than those who take a sugar pill. The act of receiving a more invasive or professional-looking treatment strengthens the thought form of belief, leading to greater physiological changes. This is a powerful demonstration of how thought forms can be amplified by external factors, much like how rituals and symbols enhance thought forms in spiritual practices. The placebo effect isn't just limited to medicine. Athletes, for instance, have been shown to perform better when they believe they are receiving performance-enhancing substances, even when those substances are placebos. This shows that the thought form of belief in one's abilities can influence not only healing, but also physical performance and endurance. But how exactly do thoughts and beliefs influence the body? To understand this, we need to explore the mind-body connection, which reveals how thought forms interact with our biology on a deeper level. The mind-body connection. How thought forms affect physiology. The mind-body connection refers to the complex relationship between our thoughts, emotions, and physical health. While the mind and body are often thought of as separate entities, research shows that they are deeply interconnected, with thoughts and emotions having a direct impact on our physical well-being. This connection is largely mediated by the nervous system, which transmits signals between the brain and the rest of the body. When we think a thought, especially one infused with emotion, the brain releases chemicals that affect the body. For example, when we experience stress, the brain triggers the release of cortisol and adrenaline, hormones that prepare the body for fight or flight. These chemicals increase heart rate, raise blood pressure, and divert energy to the muscles. While this response is useful in dangerous situations, chronic stress, caused by negative thought forms, can lead to long-term health problems, such as heart disease, anxiety disorders, and weakened immune function. Conversely, positive thought forms can trigger the release of chemicals that promote health and well-being. Endorphins, often called the feel-good hormones, are released when we experience joy, laughter, or even physical exercise. These chemicals reduce pain, boost mood, and enhance overall health. The thought form of happiness or contentment has a measurable impact on the body's physiology, improving everything from immune function to cardiovascular health. Research has also shown that practices like meditation, visualization, and mindfulness, which involve creating positive thought forms, can reduce inflammation, lower blood pressure, and improve overall physical health. These practices work by calming the nervous system, reducing the production of stress hormones, and promoting a state of relaxation. In this way, thought forms are not just mental constructs, they are biological signals that influence our health and well-being. As we can see, the mind-body connection provides a clear scientific basis for the idea that thought forms can influence physical reality. But could our thoughts extend even further, affecting not only our bodies, but the world around us? Let's explore some cutting-edge research that suggests this might be the case. Quantum physics and the power of intention. One of the most intriguing areas of scientific research that hints at the power of thought forms is quantum physics, particularly the study of how observation and intention can affect the behavior of particles at the subatomic level. In quantum mechanics, the act of observing a particle changes its behavior, a phenomenon known as the observer effect. This has led some researchers and thinkers to suggest that consciousness, or focused intention, may play a role in shaping reality on the quantum level. While quantum physics is notoriously complex and still not fully understood, the observer effect raises fascinating questions about the relationship between thought and reality. Could it be that focused thoughts, thought forms, have the power to influence not just the brain and body, but the fabric of reality itself? Some researchers believe this may be possible, pointing to studies in fields like parapsychology that explore phenomena such as telekinesis, remote viewing, and other mind-over-matter experiences. While these areas of research remain controversial, the idea that consciousness and thought could influence matter has captivated both scientists and spiritual practitioners alike. For example, the famous double-slit experiment in quantum physics shows that particles can behave as either waves or particles, depending on whether they are being observed. This has led to speculation that the act of observation, or focused intention, may be shaping the very reality we experience. The question remains, to what extent does our mind influence the material world? Though quantum physics is still far from proving that thought forms can directly influence physical reality on a macroscopic scale, the parallels between scientific observation and metaphysical concepts are striking. Both suggest that consciousness, whether through belief, observation, or focused intention, may have a profound impact on how we experience the world. So, while we don't yet fully understand the mechanisms by which thought forms interact with the quantum world, what we do know is that our thoughts and intentions have the power to shape our minds, our bodies, and perhaps even the reality around us. As we continue to explore these mysteries, science and spirituality may be inching closer together, revealing the hidden power of thought, creating and using thought forms in practice. Now that we've explored the origins and science behind thought forms, it's time to dive into the practical side of things, how to create and work with thought forms in your own life. Whether you're looking to manifest a goal, protect yourself, or influence your environment, the process of creating thought forms is rooted in intention, visualization, and focus. In this section, we'll guide you through the step-by-step process of thought form creation, along with examples of how to use them in everyday life. Step-by-step guide to creating a thought form. Step 1. Clarify your intention. The first and most important step in creating a thought form is clarifying your intention. What exactly do you want your thought form to accomplish? Whether it's manifesting a specific goal, providing protection, or helping you focus on a project, the clearer your intention, the more powerful the thought form will be. Write down your goal in a single sentence, making it as specific and detailed as possible. For example, if you want to create a thought form for productivity, you might write, "I want to create a thought form that helps me stay focused, motivated, and efficient in my work." By writing down your intention, you give your thought form a clear direction and purpose. Step 2. Visualize the form. Once you've clarified your intention, the next step is visualization. This is where you begin to give shape to your thought form. Close your eyes and imagine the form your thought will take. It could be a simple shape, like a ball of light or a protective shield, or it could be more complex, like a figure or a guardian that represents your goal. For example, if you're creating a thought form for protection, you might visualize it as a glowing shield that surrounds you, deflecting negative energy or harmful influences. If your thought form is meant to help you achieve a goal, you might visualize it as a helpful guide or a symbol that represents the outcome you desire. The key here is to focus on the form and give it as much detail as possible. Step 3. Infuse the thought form with emotion. Visualization alone isn't enough. To truly bring your thought form to life, you need to infuse it with emotion. Emotion is the energy that powers your thought form and gives it the ability to influence your mind and surroundings. As you visualize the form, focus on the emotions associated with your goal. If your thought form is meant to bring success, feel the excitement and joy of achieving that success. If it's meant for protection, feel the security and confidence that comes with being protected. Emotion is what fuels the thought form and gives it strength. The more you can feel the emotion behind your intention, the more energy you are giving to the thought form, and the stronger it will become. Step 4. Charge the thought form. Once you've visualized the form and infused it with emotion, it's time to charge the thought form with energy. You can do this through meditation, chanting, or any other technique that helps you focus your mental energy. Some people like to use a candle or other physical object as a focal point, channeling their energy into the thought form through the object. As you charge the thought form, imagine it becoming more vibrant and alive, filled with the energy of your intention. This is the final step in creating a thought form, bringing it from the realm of thought into a powerful energetic entity. Step 5. Release the thought form. Once your thought form is fully charged, it's time to release it. Let go of the visualization, trusting that the thought form will now work independently to fulfill its purpose. Some people like to imagine their thought form floating away, like a balloon, while others prefer to envision it as a part of themselves, working within them to bring about the desired outcome. Releasing the thought form is an important step. Holding on too tightly can actually weaken its power, as it shows a lack of trust in the process. By letting go, You allow the thought form to carry out its task without interference. Types of thought forms and their uses. Thought forms come in many different shapes and serve a variety of purposes. Here are some common types of thought forms and how you can use them in your everyday life. Manifestation thought forms. One of the most common uses of thought forms is for manifestation. These thought forms are designed to bring a specific goal or desire into reality, whether it's attracting wealth, success, love, or health. The process of creating a manifestation thought form is similar to what we've just covered, but with a strong focus on the desired outcome. The more specific your intention and visualization, the more effective the thought form will be. Protection thought forms. Protection thought forms are used to create an energetic shield around yourself or your environment. These are particularly useful for warding off negative energy, harmful influences, or even physical threats. You might visualize a protective shield around your body, your home, or your loved ones, and charge it with the intention of keeping harm away. Focus and productivity. Thought forms. Many people create thought forms to help them focus and stay productive. These thought forms act as mental guides, helping you stay on track and avoid distractions. You might visualize a simple form, like a glowing light that represents clarity and focus, and charge it with the intention of helping you complete your tasks with ease. Healing thought forms. Healing thought forms are created to direct positive energy toward a specific part of the body, or to promote overall well-being. These thought forms are often used in conjunction with practices like meditation or energy healing. You might visualize a thought form as a gentle, soothing light that brings healing energy to an injured or sick part of the body. Maintaining and dissolving thought forms. Once a thought form is created, it can either be maintained or dissolved, depending on its purpose. Some thought forms, like those for protection or productivity, may need to be recharged periodically. This can be done by returning to your visualization and infusing the thought form with new energy. Others, like manifestation thought forms, may dissolve once their goal is achieved. Dissolving a thought form is just as important as creating one. If a thought form has served its purpose or is no longer needed, it's essential to release it back into the ether. You can do this through meditation, visualizing the thought form fading away, or even by performing a simple ritual to symbolize its release. It's important to note that neglected or forgotten thought forms can sometimes linger in your energy field, draining your focus or causing confusion. That's why it's essential to periodically check in with your thought forms, ensuring they are either recharged or dissolved as necessary. Now that you know how to create, maintain, and dissolve thought forms, let's explore some real-world examples of how people use these practices in their daily lives. Ethics and dangers of thought forms. While thought forms can be powerful tools for manifestation, protection, and personal growth, they are not without their ethical considerations. Like any tool, thought forms can be used for both positive and negative purposes, and the consequences of creating them should not be taken lightly. In this section, we'll explore the ethics of thought form creation and the potential dangers of misuse, so you can work with thought forms responsibly and for the highest good. The ethical responsibility of thought form creation. Creating a thought form comes with responsibility. When you give a thought energy, focus, and form, you are setting it into motion, potentially influencing your surroundings, the people in your life, and even yourself. For this reason, it's crucial to consider the ethics of your intention before creating a thought form. Before you create a thought form, ask yourself, what is my intention? Does it serve not only my personal needs, but also the well-being of others? Will it cause harm or benefit those around me? If your thought form is based on selfish or harmful intentions, such as manipulating others or seeking revenge, you are creating negative energy that could come back to affect you or others in unexpected ways. One common ethical guideline in spiritual practices is to ensure that your thought forms align with the principle of harm none. This means that while it's perfectly fine to create thought forms for personal growth, protection, or success, they should never be used to control, manipulate, or harm others. Thought forms created with malicious intent can carry negative energy that may not only harm others, but also return to you as the creator. Ethical thought form creation requires mindfulness and a commitment to working for the highest good. But beyond ethics, there are also practical dangers that come with creating thought forms, especially if they are neglected or misused. The dangers of neglected or misused thought forms. Thought forms, once created, can take on a life of their own. While they remain connected to your intention, they can sometimes develop in ways you didn't expect, especially if they are neglected. A thought form that is left unchecked may start to drain your energy or cause confusion and distraction in your life. Imagine creating a thought form for productivity, but then failing to maintain or dissolve it once the project is completed. Over time, this thought form may continue to exert pressure on you, pushing you to work even when you need rest, causing burnout or exhaustion. This is why it's essential to regularly check in with your thought forms, ensuring they are still serving their intended purpose, or dissolving them when they are no longer needed. Neglected thought forms can also become confused or chaotic, especially if they are not given clear direction. For example, a protection thought form that isn't properly maintained may start to block positive opportunities or relationships, mistaking them for threats. This can lead to unintended consequences, creating barriers where none are needed. The dangers of neglected thought forms highlight the importance of regular maintenance and clear intention, but there's another potential risk to consider. Thought forms that are created with harmful or manipulative intentions. Harmful thought forms and dark manipulation. Thought forms can be used for manipulation or control, but doing so comes with significant risks, both for the target and the creator. In some spiritual traditions, these harmful thought forms are referred to as psychic attacks, where negative energy is directed towards someone to cause harm, confusion, or bad luck. While it may be tempting to use thought forms for personal gain or to influence others, this approach often backfires. Negative thought forms tend to accumulate destructive energy, which can spiral out of control, harming not only the target, but also the person who created them. This is often referred to as the law of return or karma, where the energy you send out eventually comes back to you, often magnified. Ethical thought form practitioners advise against using thought forms for manipulation or control, as the potential for harm is high. Instead, thought forms should be used to uplift, protect, and promote positive change, both for the creator and for those around them. By understanding the ethical guidelines and potential dangers of thought form creation, you can work with these powerful tools responsibly, ensuring they serve the highest good and avoid unintended consequences. How to safely dissolve a thought form. If you've created a thought form and it has served its purpose, or if you feel that it's no longer beneficial, it's important to safely dissolve it. Dissolving a thought form is simple, but it requires focus and intention. Begin by visualizing the thought form in front of you, acknowledging the purpose it has served. Then, with gratitude, imagine it slowly dissolving into light or fading away into the ether. Some practitioners like to use a physical object, such as a candle or incense, to symbolize the release of the thought form. As the candle burns down, or the incense smoke rises, imagine the thought form being carried away, its energy dissipating. This ensures that the thought form is fully released, leaving no lingering energy that could affect you. It's important to dissolve thought forms that are no longer needed, as allowing them to linger can create confusion or drain your energy. By dissolving them with gratitude and intention, you ensure that their energy is returned to the universe in a positive way. By working with thought forms responsibly, you can harness their power for personal growth, protection, and manifestation, all while ensuring that you avoid the ethical pitfalls and potential dangers that come with misuse. Remember, thought forms are tools. How you use them is entirely up to you, and the energy you put into them will always find its way back to you. Case studies, real-world examples of thought forms. Throughout history, there have been many instances where individuals and groups have worked with thought forms, either consciously or unconsciously. From ancient mystics and modern spiritual practitioners to everyday people using visualization techniques, thought forms have played a significant role in shaping personal and collective realities. In this section, we'll explore real-world examples of thought forms in action, illustrating both their potential and their pitfalls. Thought forms in Tibetan Buddhism. The Tulpa of Alexandra. David Neal. One of the most famous case studies involving a thought form comes from the early 20th century, when French explorer and spiritual practitioner Alexandra David Neal documented her experience of creating a tulpa, a thought form brought to life through focused meditation. David Neal, who spent years studying Buddhism in Tibet, set out to create a tulpa as part of her spiritual practice. David Neal visualized a jolly, monk-like figure, focusing on every detail of his appearance and personality. Over time, she began to notice that the tulpa seemed to take on a life of its own, appearing independently and even interacting with her in ways she hadn't anticipated. According to her writings, the tulpa eventually became more mischievous and difficult to control, forcing her to undertake a long and difficult process of dissolving it. David Neal's experience highlights both the power and the potential danger of thought forms. What began as a peaceful, benign tulpa eventually developed its own autonomy, requiring her to intervene. This case serves as a cautionary tale for those who wish to create thought forms without fully understanding their potential consequences. The more energy and attention we give to a thought form, the more independent and powerful it can become. David Neal's story remains one of the most well-known examples of a tulpa in Western literature, showing how thought forms, while initially harmless, can evolve in unexpected ways. while David Neal's experience with a tulpa is a famous example from the early 20th century, thought forms have also appeared in other traditions and practices throughout history. Let's explore a more modern example where thought forms have been used in group settings. Egregores in modern spiritual groups. The case of theosophy. In modern spiritual groups, the concept of collective thought forms, or egregores, has been used to create a shared mental entity that guides the group's activities. One of the most prominent examples comes from the Theosophical Society, an esoteric organization founded in the late 19th century. Theosophists believed in the power of collective intention and regularly worked together to create egregores that would help guide their spiritual growth and protect their community. In the Theosophical tradition, an egregore is a collective thought form created and sustained by the group's shared focus and energy. These egregores were believed to act as guiding spirits for the society, helping its members stay on the right spiritual path and offering protection from outside influences. Theosophists would regularly engage in rituals, meditations, and focused visualizations to strengthen the egregore, ensuring it remained an active force in their spiritual lives. Egregores in the Theosophical Society were not just passive entities. They were seen as living forces that could influence the group's decisions, shape their spiritual direction, and even protect them from harm. This collective thought form was considered a guardian of the group's energy, ensuring that their shared spiritual goals were supported and reinforced. The use of egregores in theosophy demonstrates how thought forms can be amplified by collective energy. While individual thought forms are powerful in their own right, a group working together with shared focus can create an entity that has a much larger impact. This concept has carried over into modern occult and spiritual practices, where groups often work together to create egregores for specific purposes, such as protection, guidance, or manifestation. While thought forms have been widely used in spiritual and esoteric traditions, they are not limited to these realms. Let's now look at how thought forms have been used in more practical, everyday situations, often without the individuals even realizing they were creating one. Thought forms in everyday life. Athletes and visualization techniques. While spiritual practitioners often consciously create thought forms, many people unknowingly create and use thought forms in their everyday lives. One of the most common examples of this can be found in the world of sports, where athletes use visualization techniques to improve their performance. These visualizations, while not explicitly labeled as thought forms, share many of the same characteristics. Many professional athletes use visualization as part of their training routine, imagining themselves successfully completing their race, scoring the winning goal, or achieving a personal best. By repeatedly visualizing these outcomes, they create a mental blueprint, or thought form, of success. This thought form not only influences their mental state, but also helps to align their body and mind with the desired outcome. Numerous studies have shown that visualization techniques can improve athletic performance by helping athletes stay focused, reduce anxiety, and increase their confidence. In this sense, the thought form of success, created through visualization, acts as a guide, helping athletes achieve their goals. Whether they are aware of it or not, these athletes are harnessing the power of thought forms to manifest success in their physical performance. This practice is not limited to athletes. People in business, education, and even personal development often use visualization techniques to manifest their goals. By creating a mental image of the desired outcome and focusing on it with intention and emotion, they are effectively creating thought forms that influence their behavior, decision-making, and ultimately their success. While thought forms are often used for positive purposes, they can also arise unintentionally in negative contexts, creating obstacles or challenges. Let's explore an example of how negative thought forms can impact a person's life without them even realizing it. Negative thought forms. The case of self-sabotage. Just as thought forms can be used to manifest positive outcomes, they can also manifest negative experiences, especially when people are unaware of the thought forms they are creating. One common example of this is the phenomenon of self-sabotage. When someone repeatedly dwells on negative thoughts, such as feelings of unworthiness, fear of failure, or anxiety about the future, they are unconsciously creating thought forms that work against their own success. These negative thought forms can become powerful obstacles, influencing the person's behavior in subtle ways. For example, someone who constantly thinks, "I'm not good enough," may unconsciously create a thought form that reinforces this belief, causing them to avoid opportunities, make self-defeating decisions, or sabotage their efforts. Over time, this negative thought form can grow stronger, affecting every aspect of the person's life. Recognizing and dissolving negative thought forms is a key part of personal growth and transformation. By becoming aware of the negative beliefs and patterns that have taken form in their mind, individuals can begin the process of dismantling these thought forms, placing them with more positive, empowering ones. This process often requires mindfulness, therapy, or other self-awareness practices to identify the root causes of these negative thought forms and consciously work to dissolve them. Once dissolved, the individual can create new, positive thought forms that support their goals and well-being. As we've seen, thought forms can take many shapes, from spiritual entities like tulpas and egregores to everyday visualizations used by athletes and professionals. Whether consciously created or unintentionally formed, thought forms have the power to influence our minds, behavior, and the world around us. By understanding how thought forms work and how they've been used throughout history, we can harness this power for positive change in our own lives. Conclusion: harnessing thought forms for personal and collective growth. Over the course of this video, we've journeyed through the fascinating world of thought forms, exploring their origins, their scientific underpinnings, their modern applications, and even the potential dangers they pose. From ancient traditions to contemporary personal development practices, thought forms offer a profound insight into the power of the mind and its ability to shape reality. At its core, the concept of thought forms teaches us one important lesson. Our thoughts are powerful. Whether we are consciously creating thought forms to manifest our goals or unconsciously allowing negative thought patterns to shape our lives, the energy we give to our thoughts matters. The more focus and emotion we infuse into a thought, the more it can take on a life of its own, influencing our internal world and the external circumstances we encounter. Reflection on thought forms as tools for growth. Thought forms can be powerful tools for personal growth and transformation. By learning how to create and work with thought forms, you can tap into the deeper potential of your mind, directing your mental energy toward the outcomes you want to achieve. Whether you're looking to manifest success, enhance your focus, or protect your energy, thought forms give you the ability to shape your mental landscape and, by extension, the reality around you. The importance of ethical responsibility. However, with this power comes responsibility. As we discussed earlier, it's important to create thought forms with positive, ethical intentions, ensuring that they align with both your personal goals and the greater good. Thought forms should never be used to manipulate or harm others, as the negative energy you create will inevitably find its way back to you. Instead, focus on using thought forms to uplift, protect, and nurture yourself and those around you. The collective potential of thought forms. Thought forms also have immense collective potential. As we saw in examples like the Theosophical Society and other group practices, when people come together with shared intention and focus, they can create collective thought forms, egregores, that have the power to guide, protect, and support the group's goals. This opens up fascinating possibilities for group manifestation, whether in spiritual, business, or community settings, incorporating thought forms into daily life. Thought forms don't require complex rituals or years of spiritual training. You can start working with thought forms today, right in the comfort of your own home. Begin with simple exercises like setting a clear intention, visualizing the outcome you want, and infusing it with positive emotion. As you become more comfortable with the practice, you can explore more advanced techniques, such as creating thought forms for protection, healing, or even helping others. Final reflection. Ultimately, thought forms remind us of the incredible power of the human mind. The ability to create, manifest, and shape reality through focused intention is one of the most profound tools we have at our disposal. By harnessing the energy of thought forms, we can turn our dreams into reality, overcome challenges, and create a life that is aligned with our highest potential. So, what thought forms will you create? Whether you're just beginning your journey into this practice or are already experienced, I encourage you to explore the potential of your mind. With intention, focus, and positive energy, you can transform your thoughts into powerful forces for growth, protection, and manifestation. The power to shape your reality lies within you. Are you ready to use it? Thank you for joining me on this journey through the world of thought forms. If this video has inspired you, or if you'd like to learn more, be sure to subscribe, leave a comment, and share your experiences with thought forms. Together, we can continue to explore the power of the mind and its limitless potential. Until next time, remember, your thoughts shape your world. Use them wisely.